A little too much rain even for a mostly waterproof camera. But anyway, we got her kind of dried out. Had a nice long chit chat with some of the locals. There were no tables left in there because all the local seniors come in there and they just spend the whole day sitting there nursing a coffee, and they take up all the tables. But they were kind enough to let me sit with them anyway, since I had no place to sit. So we sat and chatted. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. Just south of where I am now, I'm on the southern tip of the west side of Nova Scotia. And so if I went this way, it would go across a long causeway out to the island. And I could tour around the island, and the guy was telling me, that's great, you know, you can go around and some neat sights to see or whatnot. But I think I'm going to pass because it's just a thick fog everywhere. And I'm just not going to see anything. I'm going to ride around, it's just got to be fog and road. So, what's the point? Last chance. No, it just looks like friggin' pea soup there. I can tell already, it's just a friggin' pea soup. Fog thick as pea soup, I say. We tell you. That's the way we call it in Nova Scotia. Nice little ice cream shop, but not really in the ice cream mood right now. If it was hot, maybe. Then there'd be like a 40-person line up there. Could have used one of those yesterday. Bet you they did a good bit yesterday. Alright, just check and make sure that's open. Or not open, I mean. That's how I check my top box. I just reach back and see if I can push it up. We don't want that thing dangling open while you're cruising down the road. So that was actually my first real junk food. Had McDonald's. That's the first time I stopped at a place like McDonald's on this trip. But if I stop for a picnic, all I really got on me is I could have Chef Boyardee or I could have more noodle soup. I did that yesterday. And just getting to be to the point where I've had a bit enough of that for now. Can't just live on noodle soups. It's a foggy day. Imagine being a sailor in the 1600s, trying to find the shoreline in this. Don't know if the GoPro's showing it, but when you look west across the way, it's just white. There's nothing. Can't see a thing. You can't see where there's rocks, you can't see where the shore is. Even if there was a lighthouse, you probably couldn't see that either, it's that thick. No sonar, no nothing. They probably just creeped and crawled along until they bumped into something. But if it's this foggy and storming at the same time, well then it's even worse. They're just getting blown into whatever. And yeah, you can see it's a game over. You'd be lucky if you survived. Many didn't. So okay, after getting my way back onto the road I want to be on, there's a lot of nicer scenery on the side road than going on the main highway. The main highway is just bleh. It's just nothing but high speed and nothing to look at. So if you want to look at stuff, this is definitely the place. I could stop for a nice picnic spot there. It said Washam's Picnic. 2 minutes up that way if I want. I don't know if I really need it. I've got enough time though. But anyway, it's really nice coming along here, and there's so much old architecture along here. Like a lot of the old buildings are still standing. Like you can tell that church is pretty old. I know it's been redone a few times, I'm sure. They're saying it was originally erected in 1799. Just look at the architecture, it's just incredible. And not just the churches, but just the residential houses as well. I've been wanting to stop and take pictures at some of them, but usually I fly by them before everything registers and I can stop, and then you can't get turned around. So it's hard to, but I'm trying to get a few pictures too of some of these old houses with similar architecture like that, that are just kind of left, and some are abandoned, some are still lived in, but they're not really well maintained, but it's just amazing that they're still standing. So this goes to show the history in this area goes back a long ways. This is very old country. You know, people have been coming here, like, well, besides the Aboriginals, people like European people and that have been coming here for 500 years. So yeah, it goes back a long ways. So we're just taking a little drink break, and maybe I will just go have a look at that washroom picnic table site. All right, I've got it as secure as I can get it right now. Hopefully it's okay for a few minutes. Well, I wish the camera would have caught that. This great big deer came right out of the woods and went bounding up the old path. Just ga-boing, ga-boing, ga-boing. Never would have caught it on camera. And he just bounded all the way up the path. Well, better a deer than a big ass bear or something, eh? So let's go check out this old 1784 chapel. It's too bad I couldn't just have driven up here. It would have been better. But getting parked, getting turned around, all that stuff. Don't want everyone driving up here. Now they say there's washrooms and everything up here, so it's probably a lot more well maintained than you think. But we're gonna walk up and have a look. There's a walking trail. Not really a motorcycle thing to go on walking trails. Just wanted to see the chapel. Here's the chapel. Is it up there? Oh, mosquitoes are coming out and they're attacking in full force. There's a nice little walking trail there. I'm not seeing a chapel. Maybe it's up here. I mean, this has got to be going somewhere. Oh, this would have been a bit dodgy for me on the bike, especially with all that gear. Oh, there's something up here. Now they have all this. They have no parking down there for anyone to stop. They block it off and then they give no parking. She's an uphill hike. Well, I wouldn't come up here for a picnic. I can't carry all my stuff all the way up here. Probably could have made it on the bike. There's the washrooms, but they got them boarded up. Whew. Oh, the skidders are bad. Well, let's read about the old chapel. That's all in French. And legend tells us that before there were churches, burials took place by the salt water on the Eelbrook side. It's thought that Catherine Breau and Pierre Suet II, the Acadian founding couple in this area, were buried at that nearby burial site. Catherine Breau of Rivière-Carnets married Pierre Suet II of Port Royal. Like thousands of Acadians, they were exiled and spent over 20 years in search of peace. Along with their extended family, they finally settled in this part of the province in 1773. They are the ancestors of all the Surets of southwest Nova Scotia. So, exiled people ended up here in the 1700s. Now this is about the chapel. The original chapel was built in 1784, and you'll love the vista from the hilltop. It's easy to imagine that the faithful arriving by boat, horse, oxen, and foot to celebrate Mass here. In 1799, Father Jean-Marc Sigone founded the parish after his arrival from France. He was a larger-than-life figure who served the spiritual needs of the Acadians and the Micmac until his death in 1844. So that's quite a while. Although stubborn and uncompromising, he had great vision and was devoted to his parishioners in Argyll and Clare. This chapel served the parish until the early 1800s, when a larger church was constructed. Probably that one that I was just at down the hill. So when was that church? I was trying to guess when that was. Early 1800s. That church was made. So before they built that big church that we were just at, this was the chapel up on the hill. You can kind of see the view. They even have a France flag there because it was a French missionary that came here. At least I can keep it out on my bike from here. So what they did is they landed in here in the 1700s and built this chapel. Now there's all kinds of these memorial things up here, which I think is interesting. Jeez. I wonder if it's because I couldn't survive the mosquitoes. Whew. But this is the chapel. It's small. I've had motel rooms that are bigger than that. So I guess what they did is the few settlers in the area would come up here. If it was nice, they would probably all stand out here and have mass on the hill. Or they would go inside if it's raining. Of course, it's locked up. Anytime you find an old tourist come see us church, it's always locked up. But this is a reconstruction anyway of the original, obviously. The wood would never last that long. So I'm not sure what all these are. If they're memorials or if they're graves. It's hard to say what that's all about. But it's kind of interesting. And there is an actual, what looks like a graveyard over here. And I don't know if there's anything written about it. But there are some people buried here. And they're saying it's possible some of the original founding Acadian settlers in the mid-1700s are buried. Maybe this is the spot they were talking about. That's why they have this kind of sectioned off like this. So, original settlers, they finally found peace here after being exiled, and they found a home here in Nova Scotia. And looks like the family, eventually as they passed away, were buried here, right beside the original parish. Well, that would make sense. So these are possibly burial sites of the original Acadian settlers from the 1700s, just with remade reconstructions of what their burial spot would have looked like. But they could be down there. So there you have it. A little bit of history for you today. All right, let's head back down to the bike. At least with that helmet on, I can get away from these skitters.